Iconic game characters.
So, on the back of our last episode, which was the tier list for the PS4, so like our favourite games from the PS4, kind of celebrating the PlayStation, I thought on the back of that, obviously, video games have been a big part of both of our childhoods, growing up, and a big part of our adulthoods as well. So I thought I'd pose a question to you, what are some of your most iconic video game characters?
Just before we get into that, we've got, I don't know if you're aware, but today, it's either at 1 o'clock or 9 o'clock, there's a PlayStation 5 event going on. So gaming reviews, new trailers, pricing as well.
Yeah, that's PlayStation. That's what I'm most interested in, finding out how much this bloody thing's going to cost.
So today's a gaming day all round. So be interesting to see what happens.
So is that really quick? Sorry, is that live on YouTube then?
It'll be on YouTube, yeah.
Oh, nice. I'll check that out.
It'll come up as like a live event. You can just click on it and stuff. Yeah. So when you think of games, like from just before we get into our top 5, say, when you think of games, do you think of you as a child, or do you think of how it's impacted you now?
I would honestly say more of me kind of early teens, I would say. Early teens. So kind of the end of my... Not the end of my childhood, but kind of the peak of my childhood. So when I was like maybe 12 to like 17, something like that. That's when I was into games a lot more. I mean, I'm still into games, obviously big time now, but it's just... There's a few factors now. It's like finding the time to sink into a game properly is obviously a lot harder now when you've got responsibilities and things and you've got jobs and when I think of games, I look back on the days when we were in college and we were at school and you didn't really have any commitments and you could sit for 7 hours in the evening and just play Halo. Like, that's what I think of. I think that's when I had the most fun with games, but I still get a lot of enjoyment out of games now. It's just the games I play now tend to be something I can dip in and out of quickly, like FIFA, Soul Calibur, something like that. And it's changed quite a bit, actually. How about you?
It's hard. I always sort of try and get feelings of... It's rare when you find a game that you really enjoy, because and that sort of sticks with me. When you find one that you enjoy and you really get enjoyment out of it, that tends to sort of... That's like another coat on the coat hook type thing. It's like, oh, okay, that game is now in the memory bank as one that I fucking loved and played and stuff. Whereas the majority of them, though, tend to fade away. Do you know what I mean? Tend to sort of fly off into the background once you've played them. And so, but there are some outstanding games out there which have definitely impacted the future for me.
But this is it. So, I mean, not only have some of these games had an impact on us, but they've kind of impacted the industry and video games in general. I mean, obviously I won't go through them all, but some big standouts from my childhood, like we talk about it every bloody episode, but like the original Pokemon games. Yeah. Just because I remember holding this Game Boy in my hands and I was just mesmerised by how much content there was in this little cartridge that I was holding in my hand, and it was just... I got lost in that. I got lost in those games, and I know that you did as well. I mean, that was a massive part of my childhood, the Pokemon games. Such a simple idea, though, isn't it, as well? Like, it's just a basic RPG, but they're just so well done.
How long do you actually sort of spend on the first few then? Do you remember?
Oh, mate, honestly, I mean, I had red, yellow, blue, and I must have put hundreds of hours into each. I think the one I put the most into was Crystal. I must have put, 300, 400, if not more hours into that. So you had the boxes in your PC in Pokemon. So you go to the PC and you had box 1, box 2. I had 3 boxes of level 100s on my Crystal. I just used to constantly train level 100s. And it just never got boring. It never got boring. I must have beat the Elite Four about 1,000 times. But I really got into that.
When you got like 150 Pokemon, or more at that point, you've got so much replayability.
Oh, for sure.
I got
years out of those games.
What's your number one then? The first on your list, sorry.
What? So my most iconic character.
Yeah.
So I've tried to mix it up, and some kind of iconic game characters that come to mind. There's a lot of them. One stands out, and it played a big role in a transition for me as well. So just to clarify, I wasn't transitioning from a man to a woman to a man. My taste in games were transitioning. And that is Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2. So I played that game when I was a little bit too young. I think I was about 12 or 13. And I remember starting Silent Hill 2, and I struggled so hard to play that game because I loved it. I really wanted to carry on. But it scared the shit out of me. I had some really bad nightmares from that game, and that was just from Pyramid Head. The scene when you first see him in the game sticks in my mind. Now I love him, you know, he's my hero. But as a character, he was so fleshed out in my imagination. He scared the shit out of me. And Silent Hill 2 is, well, I've told you before, it's one of my favourite games of all time. But as a standout character, Pyramid Head definitely takes number one for me.
So was it the look of him, or was it just the game was good?
It's just everything. It's just his aura. It sounds crazy, but just when he's in a scene, it's just mesmerising in a terrifying way. And he looks nothing like any other kind of villain as well. He's just, really, really creeped me out, and something about him just stuck with me.
Is there an actual backstory to how he become that character?
So he isn't actually real. He's a figment of imagination for the main character of Silent Hill 2.
Oh, right.
He kind of invented Pyramid Head inside his head to kind of punish himself for what he'd done, which was, he murdered his wife. But spoiler alerts. But yeah, Pyramid Head is basically a figment of his. It's like a psychotic episode he's having, basically, and Pyramid Head is like the embodiment of him wanting to punish himself. It's pretty deep for a. Pretty deep, isn't it, for a Wednesday afternoon? Jesus.
At least they give him backstory, though. Not just like a figment or anything.
Yeah, he wasn't just a random enemy. Yeah, he had a bit of story to him. Yeah, for sure.
So these are in no particular order.
Yeah.
And I've tried to put in some characters which they're not staples of a generation, okay, but I've put in here characters which were iconic. Okay.
I think we might have two or three the same. Unless you've gone...
No, I don't think we will.
Yeah, unless you've gone for a complete outside.
I'll start off with probably what I consider to be the lower on the list. But when I was playing Fallout, there was a character which stood out for me. And I thought he was actually quite fresh and unique, if I'm honest. And that was Mr. Nick Valentine. So I've gone for a bit of like an outsider. It's not like... for those of you who are fans of the Fallout series... I found this particular like companion, the backstory of him was like just really interesting. He was like my number one companion throughout the entire series, if I'm honest. And I just found myself more and more getting involved with like his detective stories and some of his some of like the way he's set up as well is quite interesting because obviously he's like this synth, right? And they're obviously the enemy of the game, and you've got this guy who's like converted into a detective, and it's just I don't know. I thought like for a Fallout fan. I just thought it was really refreshing, and from that particular game standpoint, I thought he was quite like iconic.
So I find that really interesting. I find that really, really interesting because I really didn't like Fallout 4. I thought it was probably the weakest Fallout game I've played. So it's really, really interesting to hear that he's so high up in your list. It's good. It's good to have different opinion for sure.
Yeah, I thought Nick Valentine was
but I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised. No, completely. I mean, if I think of a Fallout character, one that stood out is probably Mr. House from New Vegas. I think that's a big part of this as well. Is memories and nostalgia. If they're very vivid, sometimes they're better than the actual thing.
Oh yeah, I mean this is all personal. This is all personal opinion. So
yeah, I know completely. But I think that what I'm getting at is, I think if I tried to play Fallout 3 now, I think I might struggle because I don't know if it's aged very well. And I think the memories you have of these games are sometimes better than the actual like playing the game now. Does that make sense? What I'm getting at?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think I've tried it. I've tried a few things recently. Like there's a game on the PS1 called 40 Winks. So I'm going off topic here, but just an example. 40 Winks on the PS1. I absolutely adored that game. Tried playing it recently on an emulator and I couldn't play it. And in my head, I'd built it up to be this amazing game. And when I tried to play it, I just found it boring. It's quite a weird one there. Anyway, went off on a tangent there. Apologies.
So you're number 2.
I'm going to do 2 at the same time because I think they come hand in hand. Mine are... Actually, I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them just in case. I'm going to save them for the end because I don't want to steal one of yours. So my next one it is a duo, and that is Ratchet and Clank, actually.
Okay.
Ratchet and Clank. I didn't have a lot of games on the PS2 when I first had it, but one of the games I did have was the first Ratchet and Clank. And it's just a really, really fun platformer, and I just really like kind of the relationship and the banter between them, and yeah, Ratchet and Clank. I did play quite a few platformers on the PS2, like Jak and Daxter, and obviously they had a Crash Bandicoot game, but I really like what they've done with Ratchet and Clank. It felt quite original, going between each planet in the spaceship and upgrading your weapons, and it was just a really fun game you could sink some time into.
Yeah, easy going.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you play it at all, Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, I played the first 3.
Yeah.
I was, even though I enjoyed them and finished them all, I was much more a fan of Jak and Daxter.
Yeah, Jak and Daxter was decent.
I felt like they were the PlayStation sort of duo, if that makes sense. I just felt like they were the better 2 to be. I feel like mainly because I think it was a bit darker as well, which I enjoyed more. When you get to the end, the end of Jak and Daxter 2, there's like a real moment of like terror, and that stuck with me, which is where this race called the Metalheads invades the city, and it actually happens in the game, and they're then sort of clashing with like different races throughout the city. Even after you finish the main story, they're still around these clashes and stuff, and it's really interesting. So I've always found them. I think the games for me were better. That's all.
No, that's fair. So are they on your list?
No.
But they're not?
No.
Wow, I've honestly thought Jak might have been on your list.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few on here. So my next one is... So I don't know if you've ever played Call of Duty, Sam. I don't think you've really played much of them. But
I played Modern Warfare 2. I didn't play the first Modern Warfare.
So there's a player. I gave it away there. Captain Price is the my second. Obviously, like SAS, which is good because we're English and we like the SAS. But he's his whole like trilogy in Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, as well as the remastered version. I feel like people just know who he is, like from just the voice and the get go. Like there's no like debate as to, when you play as the SAS, it was always the better missions as well. So yeah, Captain Price, iconic.
So were you quite into Call of Duty?
1, 2, and 3 Modern Warfare as I was, for sure. I played World War, which was good, but for me the Modern Warfare ones were really like. It's true what they say. They really pushed Call of Duty forward, like into the next zone. If I'm honest, before that it was always World War II games, but the Modern Warfare ones really basically gave it its identity. It's like its new identity. So,
did you ever play a game on the PS2 called Medal of Honor?
Yeah. So that was good.
What happened to that?
It was good. They still make them, but they don't. They didn't really break away from the World War II games. And for me, Medal of Honor Frontline was the best Medal of Honor game out there. And it never really got better than that. It didn't quite. I mean, Rising Sun was good. Even European Assault was actually quite good because I finished European Assault. But after that, it tended to sort of. I wanted something new. If they had gone to modern Medal of Honor, like a modern version of it, it would have been much better. But they stuck with the World War II stuff, and it's good to a point, but you need to make it fresh, different frontiers, different environments. There's been plenty more conflict since then. So if they want to do it and make it realistic, they can just use something modern. But they stuck with the old routine, and so yeah, it sort of faded away, I suppose, towards the end.
What was the Call of Duty where there was the airport scene? The one.
So that's Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, that's one I played. That's one I'm remembering now. Because you can choose to skip that whole part, can't you?
Yeah, if you're not into or if you've got
killing innocent people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's a game, innit? So if you don't like too much violence in your game, then that's fine. You can skip the level. But there's there was a similar thing in number 3 where you said you could cut a particular cutscene out, which was basically a bombing in London, and you see this girl get blown up by a bus, basically. And similar thing, you can skip it. I mean, I'm not going to get too political, but part of this is separating yourself, realizing that it is a game. It's not real. You know, if you're going to enjoy, but if you don't enjoy violence, that's fine. But part of me says you should be playing Call of Duty. So
yeah, this is it. This is it.
But there was that option.
I'm going to give my next character a little bit of a backstory before I reveal him. So,
all right.
At the start of this episode, we spoke about a bit of nostalgia, didn't we? About games that we grew up with.
Yeah.
In our childhoods into our adulthoods, and a big part of that was a game called Soul Calibur, and it was a game that me and you played during college a lot. And I did play this game on the PS1 and the PS2, but I didn't discover my love for it properly until Soul Calibur 4 on the Xbox 360, and that was with you. And a character that stands out and still does up until yesterday for me is Siegfried, mate. Siegfried, the German prince, the German royalty. Now, I absolutely adore him. I fucking love fighting games. As you know, I'm very competitive, which goes against me sometimes. So fighting games, naturally, I've always been drawn to them. But the number one fighting game still is, no question, Soul Calibur. And the best character from those games, without a doubt, is Siegfried. As I'm sure you'll agree, Tom.
Debatable.
But yeah, it's, I think he's in this list for a few reasons. I think, first of all, he just looks quality. And he's the best character in the game, like I said. But second of all, I think what that symbolises from kind of me growing up as well, because I really miss those days. I really, really miss those days. Like when we could just literally wake up, play some games. You didn't have anything to worry about. You had no responsibility. We weren't really working. We had part-time jobs, so we had a lot of time to ourselves, and still living at home, and just a time of no responsibilities. And I do miss those days in a way. Same time, it's nice to be growing up, obviously. But
your reactions definitely change over time.
Yeah, for sure. Now it takes me about 5 minutes to press a button.
I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I didn't have someone to sort of batter.
Well, this is it. It's exactly the same. I mean, I think that
you get joy out of constantly winning, don't you?
Well, it's just my nature is really, I'm really competitive, and in case I haven't mentioned it about 20 times already, but like you said, it's when you're playing it with someone and you're constantly trying to one up each other, it just makes it that much more enjoyable. It's like something to strive to almost, and I'm still like that now. Even like when we go for a run, like mentally, even if I'm absolutely fucked, I can't let you overtake me because I have to beat you. It's just, I love it, mate. I love it.
I miss the early days of Soul Calibur 4, where you were sort of a little worm and I could smash you easily.
I think as well, though, I think the character creation for Soul Calibur 4, I think was brilliant.
That was all Star Wars characters as well.
Yeah, I just thought the amount of extras in the creation mode was brilliant. And what you could do with some of them for a game on the Xbox 360, it's like over 10 years ago. That's going back quite a while. I thought it was brilliant, mate. Yeah. Siegfried.
My third. Okay. So for those of you who know me, it's always been a bit of a toss-up between these two characters. Sam prefers the latter, but I've always found Spyro the Dragon to be... It means so much to me, that game. I think I actually like... So I've played it through as an adult, the remastered version, the whole trilogy 3 times, 100%ed every single one. Like, for me, it's just so easy, and it like not the game easy, but I mean easy just to play it. It's easy to sit down. The music is really good. For those of you like who play Spyro, the music was really good, and even I'll give that sort of kudos to Crash Bandicoot as well. The music is really good on some levels, but I don't know what it is like. Collecting gems and stuff, the dragons, like the story. I think because it's ingrained in my brain as a child, it will always have a place. Like I couldn't not have Spyro the Dragon for me. I mean, again, this is all personal opinion. It's my top 5 iconic characters, or most notable, should I say? But Spyro the Dragon for me has an actual section in my brain. dedicated to it, and I just really enjoyed the story. If I'm honest, it's such an easy game to play.
Yeah, it's almost like a perfect game in some ways. The first one, I would say, definitely. I can't think of a way to improve it.
No, and there's a reason they remastered them, because they're popular, you know.
So I was actually playing Spyro last night on my Switch. I was just chilling out on the sofa, and I was thinking to myself, this music is fucking good, because I had my headphones in, so it was like quite decent sound quality, and the soundtrack's amazing for that first game.
It is, yeah, and it's got some really good mechanics in it as well. It had like just little things like catching the thieves. It had speed runs. You had like the flying levels as well.
Yeah.
Had pretty good bosses for each sort of like world you went to. I don't know, like the home worlds were really good as well.
Yeah, they were. What's your favourite one from the trilogy?
Number one is, it has a special place, but I enjoyed number 2 for the story. But number 1 is unbeatable.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I would agree. Yeah, one is the best. I think 3, they tried to do quite a few different things in 3, didn't they? Like the skateboarding and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I sort of enjoyed that a little bit, because like progression would make it do that sort of thing, and I found some of the challenges in number 2 really hard. Actually, like because they changed it from getting dragons to getting orbs to then number 3
got like
to
that
get dragon
football.
eggs.
One that stands out for me in 2 is the football one, where you've got to play football on the ice.
Yeah, ice hockey.
That's really tough.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, so number 2 was more challenging, and it had more like rewards and stuff, and it improved the characters. But number 1 is still iconic for me. So,
no, for sure, mate.
Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah, so Spyro was on my list. So, much the same reasons as you, mate. I mean, I won't go over it again, but yeah, like you said, mate, brilliant game. You can't really fault it. At all. So someone that you alluded to was Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
I've loved Spyro and Crash for a long time, still do. But for me, Crash just takes it. He just gets past the finish line for me. I just think, when you ask me about my childhood games,
yeah,
the first person that comes to mind is Crash Bandicoot. The first game that comes to mind is Crash Bandicoot 3. And like you said, you could just sit and play these games over and over and over. There's so much replayability. Such a simple idea, going from different worlds on a little platform, going up and down.
Yeah.
Each level, you got time trial, gems, crystal. What more do you need? It's just such a fun game. Just really fun times. I look back on fondly. And I forget how old they are, I forget how old. That's like the early 1990s he came out. And it's just like...
Well, that's the thing as well. It's like 3 buttons: jump, spin, and slide, and that's it. And that's all you needed.
1996, Crash Bandicoot came out.
Yeah, it's mental.
It's just fucking crazy. And yeah, I absolutely love it, mate. I just think you can't really beat it. When I think of PlayStation, I think of Crash Bandicoot.
I think that's probably why there's a little bit of like a similar trend here, because like Spyro obviously went into different worlds as well, and Crash Bandicoot have different worlds. Every level's a different world. I think there is like that thing. I think that's probably what makes it so enjoyable as well. It's like some of them you're riding polar bears, some of them you're swimming. Yeah,
you can just get lost, can't you? It's like use your imagination, and as a kid, obviously, that's quite a big part of your childhood.
Yeah, number 1 was a really challenging game as well.
One's hard. One is really not easy.
Hard. Yeah.
So one's actually probably, if you think about the trilogy, one's probably my least favourite. I still love it, but it's my least favourite.
See, I think that's why. See, I started with Crash Bandicoot 1 when I was very, very young. And then I think very soon after, my dad brought me number 2. And 2 was a standout game for me. But obviously start with 1, which is why I feel like Spyro got the edge in this one for me.
So I would agree, Spyro 1 is better than Crash Bandicoot 1, 100%.
Yeah.
100% there. No doubt about that.
Crash Bandicoot 3 is better than number 3 for Spyro. Number 2, oh god,
I've got to go. Crash takes 2 and 3 for me, but Spyro 1, and to be fair, it's all about number 1, and I think the first Spyro is better than the first Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah,
I definitely would agree with that. Go on then, let's see your last one.
So this is my number 4. So my number 4. Did you have Spyro on your list as well, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just say my last one because we all know I like Kratos. All right, so I mentioned Kratos again. He's on the list, but the true iconic character from games over the last 20 years for me has been the Master Chief on Halo.
Do you know what? I completely forgot. Yeah, completely forgot about him. Fair play.
So I got into Halo at number 1, but very back end of number 1. I was watching it with a mate who was playing the game, and I was like, bloody hell, what's this like? And it started really with the multiplayer in Halo 2, right? And I've never seen anything like it, right? The community was good, the maps were good, the guns were so balanced. The ranking system wasn't like play as long as you want and get the highest rank. It didn't play like that. It played like the old school, which is where you work hard, you get a rank, and you work up from there, right? And I really love that way of playing. I hate the fact that every player can now just get the best rank because they did more time on the game. It shouldn't work that way. It should be the best players get the best rank, right?
Yeah,
and so
sure.
like Halo was like that. It had lone wolves, it had all these amazing playlists, but the main character in all these games, like the multiplayer was icing on the cake, right, for me. But the main sort of foundation to this game was the story. And I'll tell you what, the Halo 1, 2 and 3 storylines, and Halo Reach as well, ODST, they are absolutely phenomenal for me. The story was amazing. I was so into it, right? And it's the only reason I'll be getting Halo 6, not because of the multiplayer, even though right, the multiplayer in 2 and 3 was outstanding. It's the story. I want to finish the story. It has such, like, Master Chief is an iconic. He is the reason Xbox made so many profit. Like, I swear to God, it's like Halo pushed the Xbox forward.
Yeah,
hand in hand.
I would definitely agree.
Like, honestly, it was on the launch, number 3. It was in number 2. Like, obviously, the original Xbox had Halo 1 and 2. For me, it made the Xbox. There is like a genuine argument to say that Halo was the Xbox, because honestly, it's such a big brand.
I mean, when I think of Xbox, I do think of I think of Halo Master Chief for sure. I mean, he's not iconic, in my childhood growing up, but I would say as far as iconic characters go, he's definitely one of the most iconic in the world. Definitely,
he got 100%. So many awards for music and stuff like that. And have you heard the guitar solo for Halo 2?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's like,
it's
really Jesus, good. Man, it's like fuck. And
I'll tell you what, some Breaking Benjamin in there as well, haven't they?
Yeah, so that was one of the... And No, honestly, and you can get that now on the remastered version. You go into you're right at the end of this level called Gravemind on Halo 2. It is one of the Halo 2 is the hardest Halo. If you're one of these people who've done it on Legendary, like me, right, I know what you've been through.
Like me?
Yeah, honestly, I know what you've been through, mate, and it's fucking hard, and fair play to you, I'd give you a handshake. But, yeah, honestly, you go into this room at the end, Hunters, Brutes, Elites, the Flood, they all sort of pour in, and you hear this like guitar solo from Breaking Benjamin back in the day. On the remastered, you can still do it if you switch it back to the old graphics, but it was just insane. Like, it had everything right, and I was invested in the story, like millions of other people, right? And it means something to me to know what the ending's like. It means something to me. So the fact that it's actually like I'm interested in the ending after 6 games.
Yeah, sure. No, fair enough. I mean, I really got into the multiplayer side of Halo 3 and ODST and Reach, actually, as well. But I never really got invested in the story. I mean, I don't want to offend you. I found it quite boring. But that's the beauty of having different opinions. That's the beauty of it. And yeah, like, mate, there's so many people that have the same beliefs as you. Like, Halo is definitely an iconic game, and Master Chief is definitely an iconic character. I definitely would agree with you there. I mean, some characters that it's worth mentioning, I guess, that aren't high up in my beliefs, but some iconic characters in general. You've got people like Sonic and Super Mario. Obviously, they're pretty big.
So yeah, I feel like we've sort of done a little bit of a disservice to Nintendo here. For me, I was going to have Link on there.
Yeah, so that's a really good shout. Yeah, really, really good shout. Link and even Zelda. I mean, I know there's a lot of fanboys that like Zelda.
Yeah, I mean, so that's an iconic game, and that probably did the same sort of thing for the Nintendo 64 with Ocarina of Time moving the Nintendo forward.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
that along with GoldenEye and some of the Mario games and stuff. But
yeah, well, this is it.
they all have their foundations. They all have their games that started them off.
Yeah. I mean,
the Xbox obviously later than the PlayStation, but you know,
a lot of people talk about Sonic from their childhood.
yeah.
I never really played Sonic much, like on the Sega. I mean, I never had a Sega, but I got a lot of friends that did.
No, I didn't play anything Sonic related. The only Sonic game I got was on PlayStation 2, and they released a game called Sonic Heroes, and you could play as Fox and Knuckles, and I think Shadow was in there, maybe.
Yeah, I remember.
But that was the only game I played. Too much I was struggling with it, but that's because I didn't grow up with it. So,
well, this is it. I mean, Super Mario. There's some brilliant Super Mario games I played, like Super Mario Sunshine. I think my favourite is probably a Game Boy game, which is Super Mario Land and the 6 gold coins. That was brilliant.
It looked really like appealing. The old Nintendo 64. I remember playing hours playing GoldenEye. You know, that was such a good game.
And Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, Pokemon Stadium. I mean, that was a good one. Super Smash Bros. Was a big one for me as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I never actually owned a Nintendo 64. I only ever played it with friends growing up. And then I remember we played Jamie's as well a few years back, didn't we?
Yeah, and it's one of those things you can sort of go back to. And to be honest, they're probably still quite popular now, I reckon.
Yeah, they're quite expensive.
One of the things that gets me is that so often there'd be problems with the cartridges, and literally it's flown through to today's standard where it's the same thing as turn it off and on again. It's like blowing the cartridge, smash it back in, and it worked.
Yeah, I remember those days in the Game Boy.
Yeah, just blow the cartridge. Oh, there's dust in there, and it somehow worked. It probably had nothing to do with the blowing technique, but it worked every time. You know.
Looking back, I think that's probably my favourite games console, the Game Boy Color.
Mine was the PlayStation 2 by a long shot.
Yeah, PS2 was brilliant.
I spent so much time on that with my brother, playing things like Time Splitters, playing things like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. That's a good shout, to be fair. That's the guy that had the boomerang, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there was just loads of like nice games for that, and it lasted for ages.
Another good one.
Yeah, Burnout series was good, the cars and stuff. Yeah, it just had some really, really good games. Some really good games. I still play it today. I still got a PS2. I still play it today. I still play Burnout.
Really?
Burnout 2, yeah, honestly, like, it's quality. Me and my brother have real, like, proper... Because we're still really good at it. We played that game for so long. It's probably the only car game I absolutely love, which is Burnout. Games, they capture us all.
Yes, they do, mate, they do. Games, films and 90s nostalgia, mate. SNT in a nutshell. So that has been our most iconic video games characters. Yeah, we'll see you at the weekend. Cheers for listening.
Cheers.